All right, let's talk about a huge challenge for pretty much any growing company on AWS, trying to simplify these complex, sprawling global networks. Today, we're going to break down how AWS Cloud WAN is designed to take all that chaos and turn it into a single, centrally managed, unified system. Okay, let's dive right in. If you're a network architect or a cloud engineer, this question probably hits a little too close to home. Trying to manage a network that spans multiple AWS regions, your own data centers, and all your branch offices, it can really feel like you're just constantly battling this tangled web of complexity. It's a super common and very real pain point. So, what does this maze actually look like on the ground? Well, for starters, you've got the manual peering of transit gateways, or TGWs. Think of a TGW as a regional hub for all your AWS traffic, right? But manually stitching these things together across the entire globe, it's not just complex, it's super error-prone. Then you've got the routing nightmare that comes with multi-account setups. On top of all that, you're trying to juggle different SD-WAN solutions for your branches and trying to debug an issue over a private link like Direct Connect. Well, that just becomes a massive headache. This is exactly the kind of operational chaos that Cloud WAN was built to solve. But what if you could manage all of that from one central place, a single pane of glass? This is where AWS Cloud WAN steps into the picture. It's designed to be that master controller, the thing that finally brings some order to this global network maze. So, what is this thing exactly? At its core, AWS Cloud WAN is a managed global network service. Its whole job is to build, manage, and monitor a single, unified network that connects everything. All your AWS resources, your on-prem data centers, and every single one of your branch offices, no matter where they are in the world. Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer ambition behind it. The goal isn't just to make things a little bit simpler. No, the real goal is to create one single logical routing plane for your entire global network. So instead of juggling dozens of separate routing tables, you get one unified global view of everything. And here's a fantastic way to think about it. If you already know Transit Gateway, that regional network hub, just think of Cloud WAN as its bigger, smarter global sibling. It takes all the power of a TGW, scales it up globally, and then bolts on the intelligence of an SD-WAN controller right on top. So how does Cloud WAN actually pull this off? Well, it all comes down to its architecture. It's built on three core components that all work together to create this unified network. Let's break them down. First up, you have the global network. This is the top-level object, kind of like the main control plane for your whole network. Underneath that, you've got the core network, which you can think of as a managed hub inside each AWS region. And finally, and this is the really cool part, you have network segments. These are the secret sauce for security and isolation. Let's spend a second on network segments, because this is a total game changer. These are basically native security zones. A lot like what big enterprises use with technologies like VRF or MPLS. They let you automatically isolate traffic. So for example, you can have a finance segment and an R&D segment that can't talk to each other at all, but both of them can talk to a shared services segment. And you get all this without having to mess with complex manual route table configurations. It just works. Okay, so this brings up a really important question for anyone designing a network on AWS today. When do I use Cloud WAN, and when should I just stick with the good old transit gateway? Knowing the difference is absolutely key to making the right call for your architecture. At a high level, the distinction is pretty simple. Transit Gateway is a super powerful regional router. It's fantastic for connecting VPCs and on-prem networks inside a single AWS region. Cloud WAN, on the other hand, is a managed global network. It operates a layer above TGW, creating this unified backbone that feels like your own private global MPLS network. All right, let's really break this down feature by feature. First up, global routing. With TGW, yeah, that's on you. It's a manual job. With Cloud WAN, it's just automatic, done. Next, a multi-region mesh. With TGW, you're looking at a manual peering nightmare. Seriously. With Cloud WAN, it's just built in. It handles it for you. How about segments, that VRF-like capability? TGW has some limited options with route tables, but Cloud WAN has powerful native support that's way easier to manage. And the SD-WAN integration? We'll get to that in a sec, but it's a huge difference. The pattern here is crystal clear. TGW is a great tool for one region, but Cloud WAN is purpose-built for the global enterprise. Now let's talk about what might just be Cloud WAN's absolute killer feature, especially for enterprises. It's native SD-WAN integration. Cloud WAN can talk directly to the controllers from big vendors like Cisco, Palo Alto, and Fortinet. What does that mean? It means it automatically learns the routes from all your branch offices. You don't need network engineers manually configuring BGP on every single edge device anymore. And even better, it can automatically put those branches into the correct security segment. This level of automation is a massive driver for why enterprises are adopting this. So here's a really simple way to picture how these two work together. Cloud WAN is the central brain, the control plane for your entire global network. And your existing SD-WAN appliances that your branches, they're the spokes, connecting into this intelligent global hub. They're not competing technologies. They're designed to be totally complementary. All right, so with all of that info, how do you decide if Cloud WAN is actually the right fit for your company? Let's just run through a quick checklist to see if your situation lines up with its strengths. So you should be seriously looking at Cloud WAN if you're managing more than, say, 2 AWS regions and you're connecting a bunch of branch offices or data centers. If you're just sick of the complexity of TGW peering, if you need real enterprise-grade segmentation, and especially if your goal is to integrate your SD-WAN and your direct connects into one single unified controller, then yeah, Cloud WAN is probably the right path forward for you. So I'll leave you with this one big question to think about. Is your network ready for a global controller? Look, as businesses become more distributed, more global, more cloud native, that old way of managing networks, region by region, is just not going to cut it anymore. It's becoming totally unsustainable. Cloud WAN represents a huge shift towards a centralized, automated, and global approach. It's definitely a powerful tool to think about as you design the future of your network.